We're sitting today as the Committee of Adjustment to hear Planning Act applications. We have several. We do have quorum in that all of our committee members are here. And we are in the presence of staff, including our Secretary Treasurer for our Planning Department. Our first item on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contribution to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Jennifer, item 3, our explanation of our process of our hearing today.
So through you, Chairman Jib. The applications will be announced. Applications will be considered in the order they appear in the agenda. The application will be announced, and I will provide an overview of each application. After I provide an overview, the meeting will be opened for public comments or questions. We request that the speaker provide their name and address for the record, and we will hear first from those in support of the application and those in opposition to the application, followed by those seeking clarification, and then finally the applicant. All questions must be addressed through the person. If you would like to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please do so in writing or sign the registration sheet in the lobby. I'm going to request that you ask me if you would like to have a notice of decision, because I realized I forgot to leave registration sheet in the lobby. I apologize.
Thank you. Item on our agenda.
Certainly, for you, Chairman Jib. This is an application for a minor variance for a parcel of land located 7418 Byers Road, 10th line, part of lot 30, concession 10, part of the road allowance between lots 30 and 31, concession 10. Oh, okay, thank you. The applicant has applied for a reduced exterior side yard setback to permit the construction of a garage or an accessory building in there behind the existing dwelling. Right now, the western lot line is considered an exterior side yard because it abuts a portion of an unopened municipal road allowance. So the setback for that is 10 meters, or sorry, 20 meters. And so they've requested an exterior side setback of 3 meters. The application was subsequently amended to allow for a maximum of 10 hens instead of the normally permitted 6 hens. The applicant is proposing to construct a approximately 89 square meter garage with a 3 meter setback between the new structure and the unopened municipal road allowance. A copy of the applicant's survey sketch was attached to the application. So the 0.4 hectare subject property is located on the north side of Byers Road in the northwest quadrant of the municipality. Surrounding property uses consists of a trailer park to the immediate east, residential and waterfront residential, seasonal residential uses to the south, southwest, and southeast. There's some larger agricultural properties located to the north and northwest of the subject property. The subject property is developed with a single detached dwelling, several sheds, and a trailer with an addition. There are 2 chicken coops on the property, and on the day of my site visit, one of the coops contained a number of roosters. The applicant has indicated that the roosters would be rehomed, and as of yesterday, I think there are only 3 roosters remaining, and they will be rehomed by the end of the month. According to the applicant, the trailer with the addition is occupied occasionally by relatives when they visit. So there is an unopened road allowance located immediately west of the subject property. A portion of that road allowance was sold to the previous owners. It's about half of the road allowance, so 10 meters. So the remaining road allowance is about 10 meters in width. The subject property is quite narrow at about 23.77 meters or 78 feet. Rice Lake's located approximately 133 meters to the south of the subject property. So the property is located in a rural area in the township's official plan. The policies of the provincial planning statement do allow for residential uses on existing lots in the rural area and accessory uses to those residential uses. The PPS requires protection of natural heritage features and natural hazard features, and there are no natural heritage or hazard features located on or within the area of influence of the subject property. There is a watercourse located approximately 131 meters west of the subject property, but that watercourse is outside of the 120, or the subject property is located outside of the 120 meter influence area for a watercourse. So the proposed variance is consistent with the policies contained in the provincial planning statement. The subject property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan doesn't apply. The subject property is designated agricultural areas in the county official plan, and those areas are intended to recognize agricultural uses, but as with the rural areas and the provincial planning statement, existing residential uses are permitted, and the use is accessory to the residential uses. As I mentioned earlier, the property is designated rural in the township's official plan. The township's official plan does allow for residential uses in the rural designation and uses accessory to that residential use. The official plan contains the 4 tests for a minor variance that must be addressed in order to ensure that a minor variance is appropriate. The 4 tests are: the variance must be minor, it must be desirable and for the appropriate development or use of the land, it must maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and it must maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. So the applicant is applying to reduce the exterior side yard setback from the required 20 meters to 3 meters, the same as the interior side setback. Because the subject property is so narrow, it is not possible to construct a building on the property and comply with the setback requirements. Now, when the municipality sold half of the unopened road allowance, it reduced significantly the size of that road allowance, and it's no longer possible to construct a municipal road or a road up to municipal standards on that unopened road allowance. So use of the interior side yard setback is appropriate in this case because there's not going to be a municipal road constructed on that road allowance. So while numerically 20 to 3 meters is significant, the impact is not very significant because it is in effect an interior side yard setback, and the proposed setback will be consistent with the interior side yard setbacks. The lands to the west of the subject property consists of the narrow unopened road allowance, and it is cleared, and it doesn't even appear to be a municipal road allowance. When you drive by and you look at it, it looks like somebody's sort of maintaining grass and lawn in that area. So the reduced exterior side yard setback would have minimal or no impact on adjacent land uses. Now, the official plan also requires consideration of MDS setbacks. In this case, the closest livestock barn is quite far away. It's about 800 meters away. And the proposed variance will facilitate the construction of an accessory building that's not a sensitive land use. So an MDS calculation wasn't required. So the subject property is zoned Special Rural Residential 38 in the township zoning bylaw. And that special rural residential zone recognizes the existing single detached dwelling on a reduced lot. It recognizes the reduced lot frontage and reduced exterior side yards for both the existing dwelling and the existing detached accessory buildings. There, I should have mentioned also, there are a number of accessory buildings on the property, 2 chicken coops, along with the trailer with the addition and several tarp, I think 2 or 3 tarp buildings on the property. Existing zoning permits a reduced exterior side yard setback of 6.2 meters for the single detached dwelling and 1.8 meters and 2.5 meters for 2 of the existing sheds. The requested reduced exterior side yard setback of 3 meters is the equivalent of the interior side setbacks. And since the unopened road allowance has been reduced to such that a road cannot be constructed on it, the reduced setback is appropriate in this case. The accessory use is permitted by the township's zoning bylaw, and it will not result in overdevelopment of the subject property, as lot coverage will be approximately 9% below the maximum lot coverage of 20% in the rural residential zone. The applicant has indicated that the proposed accessory building will replace several of the existing sheds, and prior to the issuance of the building permit for the new structure, they will need to confirm that the total lot area of accessory buildings on the property will not exceed 5% of the lot area. On the date of the visit of my site visit, the trailer with the addition was observed. The applicant confirmed that relatives occupy the trailer on the weekends. Trailers are not intended for permanent occupation, and the applicant has been advised, and there's been discussions that I'll talk about. There's a number of chickens on the property, both hens and roosters. They were observed during site visit, and the applicant has confirmed that they have 10 hens. We haven't received any complaints regarding those hens on this property, so the recommended minor variance would also include an allowance for 10 hens instead of the normally permitted 6 hens. So the requested variance maintains the intent of the township zoning bylaw. The application was circulated to a number of agencies, and none of the agencies had an objection. However, North Hamilton Township Building Department had no objection to this application, and they will be working with the owner regarding property standards issues. I'd just like to follow that up with, there's been subsequent discussions with the property owner since the time the report was written. Bylaw staff have attended the site. Once they attended on Friday, and they attended again on Monday for a meeting with the applicant. There are contraventions on the property. The contraventions apply to the building code, the property standards, and the zoning bylaw. The trailer is not to be occupied not to be used for human occupation. That's a zoning bylaw one. There are property standards issues, and there are some building code contraventions. Staff have discussed options with the applicant, and depending upon the applicant's actions, they'll proceed through the enforcement process. The proposed building will replace 2 of the tarp buildings, and they'll be using the new building to help clean up the site, take stuff from those tarp buildings and put it in the new building, and the tarp building will be removed. Bylaw staff discussed removal of the trailer and addition and the associated illegal use on the property. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on April 29th, and a sign was posted on the property on April 16th. 1 telephone call was received expressing concerns regarding the property. The area resident has concerns regarding property standards issues on the property and expressed concern over some of the storage buildings and trailer being used for year-round human occupancy. Bylaw staff, as I discussed earlier, have met with the applicant to discuss that. There are no other public comments that have been received to date. So my recommendation is that the variance for the accessory building is appropriate and also for the allowance of the increase in number of hens to a maximum of 10 is appropriate. I believe that the applicant is here and we may have one adjacent resident here. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Jennifer, and we'll soon find out. I assume the applicant is here, and we will provide you an opportunity to speak to this application and any questions that our committee may have in just a few moments. In the process, I will ask the audience, is there anyone here other than the applicant that is present in support of the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here in the audience in seeking clarification on the application? Seeing none, I'll go to the last question. And that is there anyone in the audience in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I will go to committee members and we'll see if we have any questions or comments for the applicant. Nothing? I guess it comes down to me, Mrs. Butler. The first question I have in looking at the site plan that was presented, knowing that your easterly property limit is an interior side yard, you have chosen to maintain a 10-meter interior side yard setback. What prohibits, or what is the requirement that would prohibit that building from move further to the east, increasing the westerly side lot line setback?
I do have an orchard.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Butler, just so that there is a record, could you come to the microphone here and we'll make sure it's on, and we'll get you to start over because I didn't think to say that to you at the beginning. Sorry.
My name and address?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Donna Butler and I reside at 7418 Byers Road in the township of Hamilton. And can you repeat the question?
Okay, the question is, your easterly side yard on this map,
Yep.
on your sketch,
Yep.
shows 10 meters, which
Okay.
could be, from what I understand of the planning report, reduced to something less than that. Why have you chosen to have the building on the west side of the property rather than the east side of the property?
For accessibility to my rear, so in the very north part of my garden, I have an orchard there. And I quite commonly drive my truck up there for supplies, for cleaning up deadfall, whatever I need to clean up in the backyard. And to access my north section of my property with my vehicle, I have to stay on the east side of my property to drive up there. So the west side of the property is, well, not only there's a shed there that prevents me from driving up the west side. So that's why I'd like, you see on there, it looks cluttered. It's got pictures of the tents that were up there. There was actually 4 tents there. 2 have been eliminated already. 2 just got destroyed with our last storm. So they will have to be eliminated as well. There is 1 tool shed that is going to be eliminated. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 of those items you see on the west side that's going to be gone. And I'd like to replace it in the same area with the garage. So I can park my golf cart, I can park my tractor, my lawnmower, everything is left outside to be exposed. My house is tiny. I don't have a garage. And I don't have a basement that can accommodate that kind of storage. It's just a crawl space. So I'm kind of really limited to the sheds that were there, which are now very dilapidated and falling down. And I'd just like to clean it up and get everything compacted and get everything packed into a garage on that side of my property because it's ease of access for me.
Thank you. The bunkie that's identified on your site plan,
Mhm.
is that the trailer with the addition?
No, there is a bunkie. It's just north on the west side of my house. It's the first building. The trailer is one of the last buildings. So the bunkie was an original, when I purchased the property, yes, that's it. When I purchased the property in 2020, the bunkie was existing. I have been working on it to make it, my art room, for lack of a better term. I do painting, I make jewelry, and my house, again, is less than 1,000 square feet. So it's really not conducive to doing a lot inside other than living and sleeping and eating.
Thank you. Obviously, we've heard staff reports and several components of zoning,
Mhm.
property standards, including roosters and different things like that.
Yeah,
I'm sensing from the nature and the tone of our staff coming back to us that you are willing and cooperative to bring the property into compliance.
absolutely. I just, on this past weekend, I rehomed 8 of my roosters. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a rooster hoarder. When I hatch eggs, it's usually 50-50 roosters. I'm unlucky and I get 80% roosters. So unfortunately, I have to rehome them. I can't keep them all, even if I wanted to. So I did on the weekend rehome 8. And I have 3 left. Granted, they're pets, but I'm totally willing to. I'm sorry. I'm totally willing to rehome them as well. I have no problem with that. I just need to get my property cleaned up for my own peace of mind and for the security of my property. I don't know if Jennifer mentioned to you or not, I had a incident last week or about a week and a half ago where I had actually a drunk guy come from the north of my property down into my property, got trapped there because I have since put fencing to deter people from the trailer park coming on my property. And when I called the cops, long story short, they said, well, where's the knife? And again, it's a safety and security reason for me to build my engineered garage to be able to put my stuff in a locked area and prevent any further theft, because I have had theft on my property as well as this crazy drunk guy with a knife.
We thank you for your information that you've shared with us. And I think we are all in agreement that a new building does provide the opportunity for some property cleanup.
Absolutely.
And we wish you all of the success on doing that. And the component of the zoning violation, property standards violation, and any other components are something that our staff will certainly work with you on. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure by the sound of things, you will be working with them on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, 100%.
I thank you for your answers. Are there any other questions for Ms. Butler? Thank you. Now that I got everything pulled apart, we do have a prepared motion here. And that simply reads that the application A0425 by Donna Butler for a property located at 7418 Byers Road, part lot 30, concession 10, and part of the road allowance between lots 30 and 31, concession 10, be approved, permitting a reduced exterior side yard setback west of 3 meters instead of the normally required 20-meter setback, and a maximum of 10 heads instead of the normally permitted 6 hens. Would the minor variance be for this specific building only in this application? Or is it of general nature?
As worded, the variance is for the general nature. The variance is that relief from section 9.3.3 C to permit the construction of an accessory building with a reduced 3 meter exterior setback. So it's not section 9.3.3 C, which is an exterior side yard setback for an accessory building. It doesn't necessarily mean, I guess, the specific building she had illustrated on her drawing. She could shift it north or south, but it's for an accessory building.
And only one accessory building, or is that something that could be considered by the committee?
I guess that is something that could be considered by the committee. What I will say is I did some lot coverage calculations, and given the existing coops that she has and the existing accessory buildings that she wants to retain, plus the proposed accessory building, she will be at her 5%. So
Okay.
there's not much allowance there for additional accessory buildings once this proposed accessory building is constructed.
Until which time something gets demolished and then. something
Until,
could-
yes, if one of the existing buildings was demolished, then there would be an allowance. It should be acknowledged, though, that 2 of the accessory buildings on the west side already have reduced setback standards established in the special zone on that property, which are closer than the 3 meters that would be permitted with this, for this accessory building.
Thank you. We've got a motion to approve the 2 items, the reduced exterior side yard and increase the number of hens. We have a mover, John. Seconder, Mark. Any follow-up questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. You will receive notification. Building permit will be available to you after.
After the appeal period expires.
Thank you, Mrs. Butler. Well, we're in trouble because my pages are out of order. What's our next application here, Jennifer?
Our next application is a minor variance for Jeff Jackson, application A05-25.
Jennifer's done my part, so now I'm just going to simply turn that over and say, Jennifer, your planning act report, please.
Application A05-25 is an application for a minor variance submitted for a property located at 2509 Division Street North in the township in part of Lot 15, Concession 2. In this application, the applicant is proposing to construct an accessory building with a higher than permitted maximum height. They're proposing to construct a 6-meter, 19.7 meter high accessory building where the zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 4.5 meters for an accessory building. So the 0.57 hectare subject property is located on the east side of Division Street between Sky Valley Drive to the north and Danforth Road west to the south. The area is developed, or the property is developed with a single detached dwelling, detached garage, and an accessory building. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing accessory building and construct a new accessory building in that same general area. The western portion of the property, that's the area with the dwelling, has been cleared, while there are some mature trees, mostly evergreens, on the eastern portion of the property. A water course appears to end at the southern boundary of the property. Surrounding land uses are predominantly rural residential lots and marginal agricultural lots developed with single detached dwellings. There was an unoccupied livestock barn identified at 8664 Danforth Road West. This property is located in a rural area. This property is located in an area of the municipality. This property is located in the rural area of the municipality. And the provincial planning statement allows for residential uses as long with uses accessory to the residential use to occur in the rural area. Compliance with the minimum distance separation guidelines is mandated by both the PPS and the Township of Hamilton plan or official plan. However, in this case, the minor variance will facilitate the construction of an accessory building, not a new sensitive land use, and an MDS calculation was not required. A water course is located on adjacent lands to the south and is considered a natural heritage feature requiring protection under the PPS. The water course and adjacent lands are regulated by Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority has commented that a permit will be required for the proposed new structure, which will be more than 10 meters from the water course. GRCA staff will review the proposed development through the permit process to determine if the setback from the water course is sufficient. They further commented that since the minor variance is seeking relief from the bylaw for height, that they have and that there is sufficient area on the property to construct the proposed building, they have no concerns. So the proposed variance is consistent with the policies contained in the provincial planning statement. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan does not apply. The property is designated rural areas in the county official plan, and like the township official plan, residential uses and uses accessory to the residential uses are permitted in the rural area. The township's official plan permits a range of uses in the rural designation, including the existing residential dwelling on the property and accessory uses. The official plan also contains the 4 tests for evaluating minor variance. The variance must be minor, must be desirable and appropriate, must maintain the intent of and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and must maintain the intent and purpose of the official plan. The applicant is applying for a 6-meter accessory building where the zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 4.5 meters. In considering whether a variance is minor or desirable, the focus is on the impact of the variance. In this case, the proposed variance will facilitate the construction of a new accessory building replacing an existing smaller building. The new building will be located behind an adjacent developed property, 2515 Division Street North, which itself is developed with 126 square meter, 2-story accessory building. On November 20th, 2019, a minor variance was granted for that accessory building, permitting a reduced interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters and a maximum building height of 7 meters. So the existing accessory building on the adjacent property is higher or has a variance that would allow for a higher structure than is being proposed with this application. The proposed new structure will be located behind an existing developed property and approximately 34 meters from the dwelling on that property and should have minimal impact on that residential use. The property is zoned rural residential on Schedule A for the township's official plan. The proposed accessory building is permitted in that zone. The only variance that they're requesting is a higher or taller building than is permitted. As I mentioned earlier, the building will be located set back from the adjacent neighboring residential use, and that property itself is developed with a 7-meter high, or a variance was granted for a 7-meter high structure. So the accessory use is permitted in the township zoning bylaw, and the requested variance will not result in overdevelopment of the subject property, as total lot coverage will be about 4.5%, well below the maximum lot coverage of 20% for the rural residential lot. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority did identify the water course on the adjacent property and the requirement for a setback from that water course, and indicated that that would be dealt with during the permitting process. There were no other agency concerns expressed, and the application was circulated to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject property on April 29th, and a sign was posted on the property on April 23rd. No public comments have been received to date. So the recommendation is that the application be approved.
Thank you, Jennifer. I do not know the applicant, so I'll simply ask our audience, is our applicant with us here today? Seeing no one, I'll move on. Is there anyone here in support of the application? Is there anyone here seeking clarification on the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? Seeing no one, we'll go to our committee members. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, I'll read the motion then. The application A05-25 by Jeffrey Jackson for a property located at 2509 Division Street North in part of Lot 15, Concession 2, be approved, permitting an increased height of 6 meters for an accessory building instead of the normally permitted 4.5 meter maximum height. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, seconded by Mark. Again, questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Our next item on our agenda is a consent application for a lot addition in the URT name, application 2025-14. Jennifer, if you would walk us through your planning report, please.
Certainly, through you, Chairman Jib. This is an application for a lot addition. The subject property is located in part of Lot 1, Concession 5, parts 3 and 4 of 39R 14713. The subject property has frontage on Pioneer Road the subject property has frontage on Cromanus Road, and the benefiting parcel has frontage on Pioneer Road. So the purpose of the application is to sever a 0.07 hectare parcel of land for lot addition purposes from the property with assessment roll number 141900050064007. It's located in part of Lot 1, Concession 5, adding that land to a 21 hectare vacant property with a long assessment roll number that is located immediately to the south of the subject property. And that property currently has frontage on Pioneer Road. So the subject property and benefiting parcel are both located on the Oak Ridges Moraine in the eastern portion of the municipality. Pioneer Road is a boundary road, so one side is Alnwick Haldeman and the other side is Hamilton Township. The vacant subject property has frontage on Cromanus Road, which is a year-round municipally maintained boundary road, while the benefiting parcel has frontage on Pioneer Road, also a boundary road. The benefiting parcel is bisected by a water course, and only the southern portion of the property can be accessed by Pioneer Road, and there is no water course crossing on the property. There's a tennis court located in the northwest corner of the benefiting parcel, while part of the property appears to be cultivated for agriculture and portions are heavily forested. Surrounding land uses are predominantly larger rural parcels with some agricultural cultivation and a few smaller rural residential lots. Because this area is in the Oak Ridges Moraine, the creation of new rural residential lots is not permitted. The subject property does contain a small area of significant woodland as identified on Schedule B to the township's official plan. No new development is proposed on the lot addition lands, which will be used to provide access to the northern portion of the benefiting parcel. When I did a site visit, the applicant had indicated that there are some of the best views the best view in Northumberland County, and everybody says that about their property, but in this case, I kind of understood it because you go up and there's beautiful views looking out, and it's quite remarkable. But the northern portion of that property doesn't have road access and you couldn't build on the northern portion without this lot addition unless you wanted to build a really long driveway and a water course crossing that the Conservation Authority may or may not have problems with. So the purpose of this application is to provide a building envelope, essentially an accessible building envelope on the northern portion of the benefiting parcel. So a portion of the property was identified with a significant woodland in the official plan. That the boundary of the significant woodland is on the lot addition lands. There's not actually very many trees on that parcel. So really the impact of this lot addition on the significant woodland is minimal. The PPS also contains policies addressing development in natural hazard areas and to ensure that development is located outside of that. North Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority reviewed the application and has no concerns with the proposed easement, and there are no natural or human-made hazards on the proposed lot addition lands. Lands adjacent to the water course which bisects the property are regulated by the Conservation Authority, and any development within that area would require a GRCA permit. With this application, there are no new developable parcels being created. The lot addition application will provide the benefiting parcel with access to the northern portion of the property from Cremonis Road. The subject property, as I indicated earlier, is designated Oak Ridges Marine Countryside, and it's Oak Ridges Marine Core in the township's official plan. New lot creation is generally prohibited on the Oak Ridges Marine, and opportunity for severances are limited. The proposed severance will not result in a new lot being created. It is just a lot addition. So the application is consistent with the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan. Northumberland County indicated that the property is designated Oak Ridges Marine Countryside and Oak Ridges Marine Core, and they had no concerns. Hamilton Township's official plan, it's in the Oak Ridges Marine, as I mentioned, and it will not result in a new developable lot. The purpose of the lot addition is to provide road access to the northern portion of the benefiting parcel, to provide access to the currently landlocked portion of the property. The benefiting parcel is already eligible for a residential building permit because it does have frontage on Pioneer Road. So you could construct on the subject property. It would either require constructing on the southern portion of the property or a really long driveway and a creek crossing. The subject property is zoned Oak Ridges Marine Environmental and Oak Ridges Marine Countryside and Oak Ridges Marine Core. On the township zoning bylaw, the applicants have indicated they plan on constructing a dwelling on the subject property, which is permitted under the township zoning bylaw, because both the subject property, that is the property on which the lands are being taken from, and the benefiting parcel are currently eligible. Both properties can have a house built on them at this point in time. With the lot addition application, it will allow for road frontage on Cremonis Road, and they can build on the northern portion without a long driveway. So it underwent, the application underwent an agency circulation. Township's building department had no objection, fire had no objection, Conservation Authority had no objection. The Township of Hamilton Public Works Department requested a 5-meter road widening along the frontage of Cremonis Road for future road widening and potential construction of a cul-de-sac. The municipal standard for such cul-de-sac includes a radius of 13 meters. Public Works further commented that an entrance permit would be required for future work, future access, and the conditions of that entrance would be undertaken at that time. So notice of the application was circulated to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on April 29th, and a sign was posted on the property on April 18th. No public comments have been received to date. So the proposed lot addition will provide road frontage for the northern portion of the benefiting parcel and allow for the construction of a dwelling on that part of the property without the need for an extensive driveway and creek crossing. The subject property and benefiting property have spectacular views. Both retained and resultant property would have frontage on Cremonis Road. Cremonis Road currently culminates in a dead end. Public Works maintenance vehicles utilize an unopened road allowances to turn around. With the requested road widening, sufficient land would be available for future construction of a cul-de-sac, which would allow for safe vehicle movement. So the recommendation is that the application be approved, conditional upon the conditions outlined in the report. The only unusual, well, not unusual condition, but the only new condition that you don't see very often from the municipality is the request for road widening along Romanus Road.
Thank you, Jennifer. I have to assume our applicant is with us today. As you've heard me state twice previously, we'll review the audience and see if there's anyone other than the applicant here in support of the application. Seeing none, is there anyone here seeking clarification on the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here in opposition to the application? Seeing none, we will provide you an opportunity to speak to the application if you wish. However, at this moment in time, I'll go to committee members and see if there are any questions. John, please.
It's just a clarity, the 5 meters that the Public Works is asking for, does that infringe on the property in question?
Does it infringe on the property in question?
Yes, in other words, does it take up the 5 meters of property?
No, that will be, the lot addition lands will go from the proposed 5-meter enlargement out the requested depth that they had requested. So we wouldn't, sorry, I'm not using my words very well there. They've requested a lot addition with a width of it's in my report. About 8 or 9 meters, I believe it is. And the depth is, or the length is considerably larger, but now I've lost my papers. The depth is 9.15 meters. That's what they've requested. So the 5 meters would sort of be added on to that 9.15. So the surveyor would go out onto the site. They would identify the municipal road allowance. They would go in 5 meters and then they would start from that 5 meters and go in 9.15 meters to get the width that they have requested. So it's not that the 5 meters would then turn the depth of the lot addition lands to 4.15.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? I have one, and it's following along John's question. We already have a road allowance there, which in my day, it was 66 feet wide. I think we round that off at 20 meters today or somewhere thereabouts. The way I am reading, and I need clarity on this, the way I'm reading the condition is that the applicant shall lay out and dedicate to the Township of Hamilton a 5-meter strip of land along the entire frontage of the severed and retained parcels. Now, the word entire is not there, but I believe that's the way that reads. Do we need that additional 5 meters in addition to the 21 meters that we have across the full frontage of these two properties to create a cul-de-sac? And my math isn't allowing me to draw a conclusion to get that to be fair or reasonable, to be honest with you. Maybe it's my understanding of what's severed and retained here.
Through you, Chairman Gibb, I don't believe it is your understanding. I believe your understanding is correct. The problem is that the radius for a cul-de-sac, and this is as I had explained it to me by Public Works, is 13 meters. So if you do a 13-meter radius at the end of a cul-de-sac, that is a 26-meter wide distance. So the bulb at the end of the cul-de-sac is 26 meters, and 26 meters doesn't fit in a 20-meter road allowance.
I'm more than willing to accept that. That's why it's going from 21 meters plus 5 to get to the 26. But do we need a 26-meter wide strip along the entire portion of retained and severed? I agree that we will need it where the cul-de-sac is, but the cul-de-sac is going to be nowhere near as long as this property is when we add the total frontage of severed and retained. That's where I'm having the problem.
Yes, and I understand that. I just included the condition as requested by Public Works. I will just review their comments to confirm that they said they wanted it along the frontage of the severed and the retained. Because
I can understand. I mean, we all know that Cromanus Road is a dead end road. We also know it's a road allowance between A&H and Hamilton. We all know that it's 66 feet wide or 21 meters. We've got that. We understand that we need more space for a cul-de-sac. Understood. I think all the way through. But do we need an additional 5 meters for the full length of severed and retained? And I'm suggesting that's unfair and unreasonable.
okay, I'm just reviewing the Public Works, the original comments, and their Public Works comments were a 5-meter road widening along the frontage of Cromanus Road for future and potential construction of a cul-de-sac. The municipal standard of such cul-de-sac has a radius of 13 meters. So I added the words along the frontage of the severed and the retained. The wording of the condition could be revised such that if you look at the air photo, we'll say the air photo, you could ask for road widening to the southern boundary of the unopened concession road allowance between concessions 4 and 5. Or something along that line, because that would allow the cul-de-sac to, the road widening to come into that area. And it wouldn't go further south on the property, and it would be the northern portion where the cul-de-sac would likely be terminated.
Please, our CAO, Arthur Henderson.
Pull up the site plan version of that map. And I just want to keep going up, actually. So right now, the seven portion of that target hold the entire lot, and hold the areas identified along the front of the Cromanus Road. So it's that 761 square meter strip, which provides that access to the benefiting parts of the plot. The easement you're talking about, I believe, that 5-meter one, while the condition originally been written out and it seemed like a portion, the entire portion of the severed green lot, what you're now saying is it could be limited to just part 4 shown on that map, which is the lower portion.
I don't think part 4 is, sorry, through you, Chairman Gibb. I don't think it needs to extend to part 4. I think it would be the 17.48 meter portion plus part 3. Part 4 is would extend further south, and that, like, they just want to turn around at the southern limit of Cromanus Road. So I don't think I don't think part 4 is necessary. I think road widening along parts 3 and the part where they say, that says 17.48 are probably necessary for the, but I'm not the roads guy.
Could we-
I just know what they look like on a map.
Could we use some wording like this? And I'm going to make a suggestion, which I'm sure can be modified by our others here in our room. That a 5-meter road widening be dedicated to the municipality where deemed necessary for the construction of the cul-de-sac. Any thoughts on that from anyone? Jennifer, Arthur? We haven't included our applicant yet, so we'll be with you in a minute. John,
You're just including the additional piece or the whole piece?
where it is deemed necessary for the cul-de-sac construction. I don't know where that's going to be,
Mhm.
but what I'm trying to avoid is a 5-meter road widening where we truly already have a 20 or 21-meter road. So I can see it for necessary for a cul-de-sac, but I want to limit it to the cul-de-sac. And I put that all in the form of a question.
Through you, Chairman Jib. I don't like spending money, other people's money, where it's not in my position to spend it. But what we could do is as you suggested, 5-meter road widening dedicated to the municipality where deemed necessary by the township to the satisfaction of the municipality. And the way that they could do this is when their surveyor goes out, they could survey how far they needed to go to make the 26, the cul-de-sac, the radius of 13 meters, and only take that amount of land. So their surveyor would go out, they would measure and say, okay, in order to, and I think we should only take half of it. So the portion that comes over onto his property, so, and that's why Lucas has said 5 meters.
Okay.
To come over, and that's what
Okay.
but I don't know,
I
we
think
have the
that's- I
applicant
think
is
that-
here.
That wording works better for me than maybe where we were when we started this. We're still accomplishing the same thing, but the wording consolidates the land that we're taking, in my opinion. I'm going to go to committee and see if we have any further comments or questions. And then I think it's time to engage the applicant. Any further questions then? To our applicant, would you like to provide comment or questions? Please feel free to join us at the microphone and ensure that red dot's on or those red lines are on.
Okay.
And just for the record, obviously we know you're not Gord, but please state your name and your address.
Yeah, Jesse Ewart, 384 Earl Road, Baltimore, Ontario, K0K1C0. I mean, I can't do a better job of articulating what Jennifer and Scott just did. The stuff's pretty technical, so I would only complicate it, so I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our applicant when he's at the microphone? Thank you, Mr. Urick.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Prepared motion, unless we have more questions or comments. That the application of B 02-25. Sever parcel of land, lot addition purposes, part lot 1, concession 5. Be approved subject to the following conditions. 1 through 7. The modification in the wording on condition 6 being the road widening. I have a mover and a seconder to that motion and modified. Right now. Question or comment? All those in favor? Harry? Lucas? Like to provide Paisley?
Sure. Basically, it fits within all the recommendations that our planner has given. We have no one here opposed to the application, and we were able to negotiate with the applicant on the cul-de-sac change, so.
You were the secretary, anything you'd like to add to that? See, notification,
Great.
decision. I'm sure in this history, he knows the process. Fine. Staff are available. You have no other business? Next item on our agenda is adjournment. Very much reads, committee adjustment meeting held on May 13th, 2025, be adjourned at 3:01 PM. Mover, and the secretary, by Bruce, seconded by Larry. All those in favor? Carried, thank you.